All right, good afternoon, class. Thank God for your life and that of your family. And I'm most grateful to God also this day available to us. And indeed, uh, today is a continuation of what we started just a few days ago. That's on Saturday. Today we'll continue with the section 5. Yeah, that is on the East-West conflict. We'll be looking at how to nurture democracy in Africa. Yes, now Africa is a fact that Africa indeed has adapted, accepted to go democratic, and for that matter, Africa democracy in Africa. Now, one of the things that we should note or do is first we need to improve our economy. We need to improve the economic condition of our people. You cannot talk about democracy if you don't have in mind strategies on how to improve the economic condition of our people. Now, this is very basic and very, very important. Most African countries have weak economies, and we are more import oriented than export oriented. We import more than we export, and largely what we export are primary agricultural products, and these agricultural products are not in their finished goods. So we need to add value to these agricultural products and then we export them. Then we get more money. But if we export them in their stage like that, it doesn't fetch us the necessary money. What we notice that the price of these primary goods that we export, primarily the prices keep dwindling, fluctuating based on the market, world market indices. And so sometimes it's difficult for Africans to earn more foreign exchange for development. Now, this is a poor infrastructure that we have in Africa, particularly if you look at Ghana, for instance. Most of the places where we get our foodstuffs, most of these places, the road network is nothing to write home about. The road is nothing to write home about. So we need to improve on our road networks. Communities, we need to improve. We need to get them good portable roads because there are places where farmers plant tools and these are perishable goods, and the roads are not good. Buyers are not going because of the roads are not good. Drivers are not even so piling because the roads are not good. So the goods end up perishing on the farm. So we need to look at this how best we can get our road networks more improved. And of course, we have to take measures to add value to our raw materials that we export. We need to add value to that. So when we are able to do that, then we'll be in a position to improve our economy and indeed see a better democracy. Now, the other issue is redistribution of wealth on north-south basis. I don't know whether it is by divine design. Or it looks like in Africa, most of the nations, the northern part of most of the nations in Africa seem to be poor. That is my observation. Seems to be poor as compared to the southern side sector. And indeed, there is a need for us to redistribute the national cake evenly. Just take Ghana for instance. If you divide Ghana into two, basically it is unknown, it is a common knowledge that the northern side, the northern part is poverty driven as compared to the southern side. So we need to national cake, yes, so that at least it shouldn't be only Accra, the southern side that should be enjoying national cake or the bulk of the national cake. Sometimes the bulk of the national cake need to go to the northern part as well to square things up. Now, the other issue has to do with education, which of course education is the key. Education is the key. And now, if you're talking about education, particularly among the illiterate, now when it comes to electionary year in Ghana, for instance, you realize that the number of ballot boxes that go waste, in fact, uh, is an eyesore, and it goes at the expense of the taxpayers. Taxpayer has to pay. Now, if for instance, uh, about 1% or 2% of the voters, I mean, they didn't vote well, and they have to reject their ballot boxes, or they have to reject their papers, voting papers. And imagine there's a tie. If, for instance, this 1% voted well, and then this is evenly distributed, or voted for one party, then this idea of a tie will not be there, and it will not. The nation will not incur any further debt. So we need to educate the electorate how to vote, and of course, how to thumb print. Yes, the right way to thumb print. So we need to educate them. Yes, and also we need to also to educate the electorate for that. Yes, they should vote based on, not based on personalities, not based on ethnic group, right, or religious affiliation, but based on the manifestos of political parties, which is of course very important. It's very important. We should vote based on the manifestos of political parties, not because of personalities, not because of religious affiliation, or not because that I belong to this ethnic group and the man also, or the one standing for my party also belongs to that ethnic group. So let me vote for him. No. We should that should not be the case. We should vote based on the manifestos, what the people, those who are buying in position, those who want to become the leaders, what they have for us. That's what we should do, so that we'll be able to read, and I mean we should be able to make a clear judgment. But unfortunately, in Africa, one thing that we realize is that the illiteracy rate is still high, but all the same, I think we can have a way of educating them, maybe through the service, through the local dialects or languages. We can educate them and show them the way forward, and it will help build a strong democracy. Now, the other point is that parties should be formed on national basis. Yes, you see, political parties are not to be formed based on ethnicity or religious affiliation, right? Religious affiliation. But parties should be formed based on national interest, right? Based on national interest. You see, politics should not be made. Politicians should be. We should talk to politicians to desist from capitalizing on deep-seated ethnic conflict, where take advantage of ethnic conflict to infiltrate and divide the people. It's not the best. It's when it becomes a difficult thing for conflict to be resolved. In Ghana, for instance, you see, it is common knowledge that if you talk about NPP, then you're talking about the Account Party. When you talk about NDC, then you are talking about an area party. But that should not be the case. Even if you are an Akan and you are in the Ashanti region and you join NDC, sometimes your own people, the way they castigate at you, the way they insult you, it's an eyesore. So the same thing happens in the Volta region. But why should it be that way? So even the problem, not only forming political parties based on with national interest, even joining political parties should not be based on ethnicity. It's not the best. People join parties because my uncle is belongs to party YSZ, and my mom is in party YSZ, my father is in party YSZ, so I should also be a member of the party YSZ. That should not be it. That should not be it. We shouldn't join political parties based not I mean so uh, based on ethnicity. I can tell you that today that there are people who are MPP or NDCs, but they don't know they've been voting for MPP or voting for NDC. Yet when you ask them of the manifestos of these parties, they don't know. When you ask them of the political ideologies of these parties, they don't know. Theirs is just because my uncle is there, I'm also joining. That is all. Because I'm a car, so I have to be an MPP. And that is bad. That is bad. We need to take a second look at that. We need to take a second look at that. We must look at it such a way that, look, you have a party, you want to form a political party, the interest is to serve the nation first, not any ethnic group. And it should be open. Not, it should be open. It should be open. There's one thing I keep saying, you see, what if you take for instance MPP, would there ever be a day that a northerner will lead MPP? We are all hoping to see that day, but it look as if for now that chances that the chances slim. Well, is the current vice president going to break that gist? We don't know. We don't know. But you see, everybody should be given the opportunity to contest, so that it is a national party, not an ethnic party. So we need to look at, if we actually want to nurture democracy, then our political party should be formed based on national interest. Based on national interest. That is very, very important. Now, and of late, one thing I've observed is that people form political parties not based on national interest, but rather based on their own selfish interest, so that with the hope that when there's going to be runoff, they can align with another the party they perceive to be on the winning side, and then maybe get something out of that. And this is not auguring well for the nation. We should have the nation at heart first. We should have the nation at heart first before any other things come second. So this ethnic nature of our political affiliation is not helping the nation. It is not helping the nation. So if you really want to nurture democracy in Africa, then political parties should be formed based on national interest. But when it comes to, you see, one other thing that I find is so disheartening in Ghana is that we find it difficult to separate political issues from national issues. Issues that are of national interest, we tend to make it partisan. So sometimes, it's not helping the nation. It's not helping the nation. The national issue, let us, regardless of NPP or NDC or whatsoever, CPP or whatsoever, let us look at it with the national lenses. But what do we see? In most cases, political issues, national issues are looked at with political lenses. And that is not good. So now it has become difficult to isolate, to separate, or to even to say that this issue that is confronting the nation is a national issue. It is not a political issue. Let's look at this. What is that? This current economic trend. Of course, there are political lines that have been drawn, but some of us think that this is a national issue. It's a national issue. This has nothing to do with NPP or whatsoever. It's a national issue. Everybody must come on board to find out the best way out for the nation. But here is it, national issue, turn into political issue. So what do we do? So it is time that we take a second look at our political affiliations, and the parties that we form should be based on national policies, national interests. The other issue to look at is free and fair election. Free and fair election. And indeed, the center or the heart of multi-party democracy is free and fair election. And when you look at in Africa, for instance, I wonder if there's any African nation where they have ever held an election in an African nation where at the end of the election, the opposition party or the losing side have not complained that it was unfair? There's always serious contention at the end of every election. Why? That is the question. Why? And this is simply because, you see, when you look at our electoral commissions in most African nations, the electoral commissions, if you talk about independency, it is not the case. It's not the case. The electoral commission should be independent. In fact, the electoral commissioner should not be appointed by any political party. There should be a body of organization, a system that should determine who should be the EC chair. But what do we see? In most African countries, political parties political leaders appoint when they appoint the EC chairs, and that is wrong. Even it's in our constitution that political parties or the sitting government is mandated or has the power to appoint, then that EC should be an independent party, a non-partisan. It's election, the election of the chairperson be under the government. No, government should not appoint anything. It should be an independent body with a mechanism or step to appoint the chair. There shouldn't be any government interference. When we do that, then we have a credible EC. A credible EC. We have a credible EC. Then we should. You see, another issue of free and fair election is also that every party, all political parties must have or should have equal access to state resources. And there should not be manipulation of the electoral process by any incumbent government. When these are done, then we're able to have free and fair election, and then we are nurturing democracy. But as it stands now in Africa, we are yet to get there. Absolutely, we are yet to get there. We have a long way to go. Now, the other point is the last one is that opposition parties must unite. Yes, opposition parties must unite. Opposition parties must present a united front to prevent incumbent military regimes or governments from staying into power for long. But if in a situation where we have fragmented parties, countless number of them, and some of them do not have offices, they have one or two offices in big cities, the rest don't have parties. Then those parties do not need to exist. They don't need to exist. Political parties must come together. Even in Ghana, for instance, since 1992 to date, some of us are thinking about now we should have a third force. Apart from NPP and NDC, Ghana should have a third political force. But here we are, different political parties. Quite a number of them calling themselves Nkrumah's parties. Yet they cannot unite. Why? Yet they cannot unite. For what reason? Best known to themselves. So the political parties must unite, come together, since they are working for the interests of the nation. It doesn't matter whether you are QYZ, XYZ, or whatsoever. Since you share the same political ideologies, then you come together and work together for the interests of the nation. But the other case, that is not there. And so sometimes when it happens that way, people will look at it and say, the interest to save the nation is not there. The interest to save the nation is not there. Then I say again, one important basic thing which is not captured in your book is that our attitude as Africans, some of us, our attitude is not the best. Particularly, you see, democracy doesn't mean that you become an MP or a president and you lord it on the people. Democracy doesn't mean that you are going into it to amass wealth. So some of us, the mentality we have before we go into politics is wrong mentality. Our attitude towards democracy is wrong. It's wrong. There are people who have that mentality. They are going into politics to make money. And today, let me tell you, one of the shortest, or in quote, avenue to make money is to become a politician. But that should not be the case. So you see, attitudinal. If we want to nurture democracy, we want democracy to grow in Africa, then our attitude in general must change. And talking about attitude, our attitude at the workplace must also change. Must also change. Attitude. As we talk against, we say we blame our leaders for mismanagement and whatsoever. We are part of it. If you talk about government, it's not the few people who are government. Everybody form part of the government. You and I form part of the government. But if we sit at our individual offices, our workplaces, time for us to work, we are not working. We are working low. Time for us to go to work. You report at any time of the day. And if you are going to talk, you criticize. You get that attitude must change. As Ghanaians, we need to change it. We need to change it. So if you really want to nurture democracy in Africa and in Ghana in particular, then one of the things that we need to see a change is our attitude as Ghanaians, our attitude towards democracy, our attitude towards workplace. If we're able to change our attitude and we don't see it because it's government work, so I have to do whatever I want. No, please. It will not work. It will not help us. We're not going to nurture democracy. If we have the mentality that, look, we are going into democracy to amass wealth, to make money, it is not going to help us to make money. It is not going to help us. So those people who have that interest, that look, I'm always going to democracy, I want to join a political party so that I'll make money, it will not work. I mean, it is not the right thing. It isn't the right thing. We need to change our attitude as Ghanaians at the workplaces. You know what you are doing is wrong. It will not help the nation grow, yet you will do it. Because sometimes some of us, because of our selfish interest, we don't take the whole nation into consideration. We need to look as Ghanaians. By so doing, we're able to nurture democracy in Africa. Democracy has come to stay, but whether it will survive and make a greater impact will depend upon you and I. The role we play, what we do, our attitude in everything counts. Attitude in everything counts. Or else, this democracy that we are talking about will not work. It will be a mirage. And some of us don't want to go back to military era. It's gone. Military time is gone and past. So let's embrace the democracy and change our attitude and work for the good of the nation. Now, if you have any question, you can put it on the WhatsApp platform. Now, let's look at Africa in the era of intensification of globalization. Section 6, excuse me. Now, when we talk about globalization is not a one-off event. It is a historical process that has gathered momentum, or that has been gathering momentum for some time now. And now, as a process, we cannot say that it is complete at the point in time. No, it is a process. It is a continuous. It is a process because it continues. Now, for instance, many years ago, if you want to withdraw money, you have to go to the bank to queue. And those days, it's manual to queue, right? But today, with the advancement in science and technology, with your ATM card, you can withdraw money at anywhere. Times have changed. Times have changed. Things have changed. So with the ATM, you can withdraw money from the bank. I remember when I first came to UCC, registration was manual. Registration was manual. But today, you can sit at the comfort of your hostel or your residence and you register the courses, you enter into your portal and you register. It is not a one thing affair, it is a process. It's a process that you need to know that it is a process, not a one thing affair. So globalization is not a one thing affair, it's a process. It's a process. And indeed, it has come to stay. Globalization has come to stay. It is a process. And what are the factors promoting globalization? There are very many things promoting the shrinking of the world. Now, when you look at the world, the world is gradually becoming a smaller or a global village, a global village. And indeed, distances that can be covered, distances that can be covered, distances that can be covered in a given period of time. Because of globalization, people can travel very faster, right? Gone were the days where people have to walk from here to the north. People have to walk from here to the north. But today you don't need to walk. Transportation is there. Aircraft is the plane is there. And today, because of ICT, you are here, you can talk with somebody in America. You can even see what the person is doing. The person can also see what you're also doing. So you see, now because of globalization, the distance has been shortened. You may need not to travel. You can somebody in Ghana money, your relative money. That is the issue of globalization. Now things are changing, and we have now easier and better communication systems. Easier and better communication systems. That indeed, with the press of a button, with your smartphone or whatsoever, as I indicated earlier on, you can talk to somebody anywhere, and the person can see you. You can send messages and whatsoever, and whatever is happening today, whatever is happening in America today, live you can see it. And all this is the issue of globalization. More and more improved ICT are coming up every day. Now today the World Cup is being played. We are here in Ghana and we are watching it live. So whatever is taking place in Qatar, we are here privileged to watch it live. So those of us who are not in Qatar, of course, all of us cannot be in Qatar, but those who are in Ghana or in other parts of the world who are not in Qatar can watch it live, know what is happening. And even there are cases where are given the opportunity to also contribute. So this is as a result of what globalization. It has made communication to become easier, and there is an improved system of communication. And of course, one other basic important thing is that now there's existence of money in electronic form. Yes, so the world is changing, gradually changing as a result of globalization. As a result of globalization. So globalization can also come, right? And I'm sure maybe a time will come, physical money that we are now spending will no more. Even now, mobile money, more. People are no more carrying physical cash. But with their phone, they can buy and pay with Momo. And this is an act of globalization. So definitely a period will come in the future where physical cash will no more be needed. Will no more be needed. And that is the act of globalization. That's why we say it is a continuous process. It is a continuous process. It is not a one thing issue or one thing affair. One affair. So, like I indicated, if you have any question, comment, or whatsoever, you can put on the platform and I'll respond to that. Now, let me go back to how to answer questions. Once again, I think the last video I made, I showed you the steps, and I want to maybe repeat that again. You see, the end of semester examination, Normally, like I always say, it is not the one who sits behind his book from morning 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. that gets the A, but rather the one who knows his exam techniques, the one who knows that, look, this and this and these are the things that examiners be expecting from me. Then he works towards it. He works towards it and he gets his A. So one thing that you need to do as student is that you see the chief examiner reads your book, and out of the books he sets questions. So you can also get your exercise book, read the book. Now areas where you think where areas where there are points, definitely know that those areas, if anything at all, if any question is to come there, that will be for section B. So for instance, if you open the first unit, section 1, it talks about definitely what is the issue of what is African studies can never come or be in the section B. If anything at all, whatever is here under what is African studies should be under section A, end of semester section A. So if I were you, I'll read that one, this section, and then set questions on myself, and then set questions myself, and then answer it, and then answer it. Now, when it comes to factors for the late development of African cities, definitely this has 4 factors. So here, no one should tell you that an area of this nature, of course, there are some things that can come in section A, but section B also it is likely because it has to do with factors that you can write. So now, for instance, if you take a question of this nature, if you have to write 4 factors that contributed to the late development of African studies, one thing that you should note is that the step in every essay that you write, I'm dealing with the section B here, end of semester section B. Every essay has 3 points. It has the introduction, it has the body, and it has the conclusion. Right? It has a conclusion. Now, the introduction, the question is what goes into the introduction? What are examiners expecting you to write in the introduction? Now, examiners expect you to give a very good thesis statement. So, for instance, if you have to talk about factors that contributed to the late development of African studies, now the central idea is talking about African studies. You can't talk about the factors that contributed to factors without first defining what African studies is. So, you need to first define what is African studies. Now, when you define African studies, then you can now go ahead and talk about the factors. So, for instance, African studies, so, so, and so, and so, and so, and so. Example, you cite example, African studies, so, so, and so, and so. There are many factors that have accounted for the late development of African studies. Some of these are A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, based on how you number them in your essay, then you what the body will go and will be addressed that way. Now, don't go and itemize the point. At this level of your education, you have passed that stage of itemizing points. For instance, I, 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 V. No, it should be in a free flow in an AC form. Now, if you present an introduction where you itemize them I, A, B, C, V, C, V, D, that is not academic. At the university level, we don't expect that. Everything should be in a form of a sentence. So first we define what African studies is, and then the point we are going to discuss or examine in a body should be captured in the introduction. That will give you a good thesis statement. And once you do that, of course, no matter the marks allocated for the introduction, you will get, I mean, you will get your point there. Now, remember also in exam, 18.5 is necessary to contain your destiny. Right. Now, once you finish with A, B, C, D, enumerating them in the thesis statement or in the introduction, now if you started with A, B, C, D, then your explanation should start with A. Now, don't go and if you are going to start the A, don't go and start, for instance, I indent it first. Then don't go and start write 1. No. For instance, you can say in the first place, A is the reason why African cities, blah, 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 blah. So if you mention A, you must explain what you mean by A, not a sentence. At most, three, four, five sentences. Three, four sentences. Explain it. Then again, you must cite an example where and when necessary. If the point you are talking about, there's a need to give an example. And of course, in your book, African Studies, there are a lot of illustrations. You can't tell me that there are no illustrations. There are a lot of illustrations. So you can pick some of them and think of your own illustration and add to that. So, when you explain your point, you must give an illustration. You must give an illustration. Explain the point. You must give an illustration. So once you do that, then you move to the second point, you do the same thing. You move to the third point, you do the same thing with illustration. And the fourth point, you do the same thing. Then, when you finish, the conclusion should be your personal opinion. So if you are talking about factors that contributed to the late development of African states, what are your opinion? What is your opinion concerning the factors? The time has passed where people students summarize. Where people say, okay, the above are the points that contributed to the late development of the country. You pass that stage. You must think you are now mature in the university. You must give your own opinion. Opinion. So personal opinion counts. Your opinion concerning the content of your essay, that's the body of your essay. The summary, your opinion should be based on the body of your essay. And when it comes to conclusion, under no circumstance should you introduce a new thing, an idea that you have not discussed in the body of the essay. So if you are talking, if you're spoken about A, B, C, D, don't go in the introduction talk about E, F. In that case, you have made it wrong because E, F was not discussed in the body. In the body. So your conclusion, which is your personal opinion, should be based on the A, B, C, D that you have discussed for you to warrant the maximum marks there. And please take note of this. There are cases where students go in the section B without introduction. They go straight to the body of the essay, and when they finish, they don't even write conclusion. They don't even write conclusion. Now, when it happened that way, you are losing 2 marks, 2 sections. The introduction, you lose marks, and the conclusion too, you lose marks. So if the body, for instance, is going to be marked by 15 or 16 marks, then you are going to be marked by 16 because you have given the examiner the marks allocated for the introduction and that of the body, the conclusion. So the examiner's work has become less. So he will mark you based on 16, which is the total mark for the body. And there's no way you are going to get 16 over 60, 16 over 20. No way. So you lost about 4 or 5 marks. So take note of this. Do not be in a hurry. Once they give you you get to the exam hall, pray first to psychic yourself. Leave everything to God first. Leave everything to God. Once you do your prayers and once the exam hall, and then they've given you your question paper, and the invigilator says start work. The first thing is that you read through this section A. When you are done with the section A, then you look at the section B. Then choose your 2 questions. Now your back page, you use the back page as a. So this is, for instance, this is the back page. This is the back page. So itemize your points here neatly. If it is, and don't forget, write a question. If it's on the late development of cancer, write the late development and then itemize the questions here. And the second question you are going to answer, you do the same thing. So that once you are writing, you'll be flipping and looking at it. Now, if you say, look, you are a guru, so you can have the point in your head and you don't forget, I bet you can, examination tension can let you forget. So to be on the safer side, turn the back page as a raw paper, write your 4 points or 5 points as demanded, add examples where needed. Do the same to the other question, the two questions we are answering. Then you come back, you start your way. Time yourself is very, very important. One thing then you realize that you have to time yourself. Divide, if it's 40 minutes, 40 minutes, make sure you have at least most 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you should use to read your question, your answer. Whatever questions you answer, please go over and read it and correct the grammatical errors, because when examiners are marking, it will go against you. It will go against you. So it's also good that as you write, flip over the points jotted to see whether what you are writing is in accord with the point you have written. Because sometimes the hand goes faster than the brain. So it is very, very important. It's very, very important to about that. So, beloved, it's not the number of hours you sit from 6 a.m. to whatsoever. No. These are some of the exam techniques. Your spellings, right? Knowing what to write and whatsoever. The terminologies you have to use. And please note this, I said this in class. When you look at the unit 6, right? Let me go back. The unit 6, for instance. When you go to the unit 6, when you look at the section 2, the topic for section 2 and the topic for section 3, they are the same. No, they are almost the same. There's a slight difference. The section 2 topic is that the effect of the Cold War on Africa. Then section 3, the topic subtopic there is the effect of the end of the Cold War on Africa. So the difference is the end. So please be mindful that when you come across this question, so that you not use the points for section B and section 2 for section 3. The likelihood of people debating is there. So be careful. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Yes, be mindful of that. Right. There are different points. Be mindful of that. Then again, another very, very important thing is this. When you're talking about a life cycle event, please, life cycle events. Life cycle events talk about the stages of life that an individual goes through, right from birth to death. Is very, very important. So please know that the illustrations must come. The illustrations must come, right? So, although we've ended lectures, the WhatsApp group is still there. Of course, which of course you can WhatsApp me any question or whatsoever, and then we see how best we can interact on the social to help you and to prepare you for the end of semester examination. Until then, I say shalom. The peace of God be with you.